HolbyPlus.com, Scott Bass, for unbelievably priced Yamamoto rubber wetsuits.
Buttery. You know what? Buttery. It's super comfortable, super soft, super warm, super flexible. It's super. In a word, super. Colby Plus, Yamamoto full suits. Total no-brainer. Absolutely love mine. Wear it all the time. And people ask me about it too recently. They're like, "Hey, what's going on there with that suit? Looks killer." I was like, "Yeah, let me tell you about it."
Well, I'm currently wearing the 4-3 front chest zip, and it's priced at $305 on colbyplus.com. And I went and read a review there yesterday, and this one's from Steve Doc or Surf Doc Steve. And he said, quote, fantastic suit. I've had custom Yamamoto rubber suits made for me. This suit is better. The quality of the Yamamoto is excellent, and the finish of the seams is great. The price is amazing. I'll be buying another of their suits, or I'll be buying other of their suits from now on. End quote. So Steve says it all. We're big fans. Colby is spelled Colby, colbyplus.com. And then, of course, as always, realwatersports.com for any and all of your water sport needs, Mr. Bass.
Yeah, I was on Instagram earlier and I was checking out my friend Ocean Pixels, his trip to Tavarua, and we were trying all the Armstrong foil gear. And your one-stop shop for incredible Armstrong foils is, of course, Real Water Sports. Our friends Trip and Matt and the whole crew there is going to take care of you, all of your hard goods and soft goods, anything dedicated to this lifestyle that we love. Real Water Sports is your one-stop shop.
And we talk about their 1,500 surfboard inventory. It is a number of the big brands, but it's also a lot of smaller handmade guys like your beloved Ryan Sakel. His boards are there. Roger Hines, Maurice Cole, Christensen is there. So they work directly with a lot of shapers, and they even do like proprietary models specifically only available at Real Water Sports too. So check everything out at realwatersports.com.
As we see some movement at the takeoff zone, it's Kelly Slater.
Yeah, a guy, a hearty guy on this January 15th, David, 2025. Here we go. We're into the 2025 year. We're off and running. We're 2 weeks in. This is Spit. We talk all things surf on this podcast. David Lee Scales and Scott Bass. Good morning, David.
Great morning to you, Scott. Good to see you. I like how you're matching your drinkag1.com/surf hat with your sweater. Looking
Yeah.
all green today.
People don't know this about me, but I'm known for matching.
Really?
No, no, I'm not. I'm a complete slob. I pick
Even
up whatever's
I've
on the
known you
dorm
for
room floor.
I've known you for 12 years, and even I don't know that about you.
Yeah, well, there's a reason because it doesn't exist.
Well, every once in even a clock is right twice a day, right? So
Thank
here
you.
you are. Here you are
Yes.
matched after all these years. Um, Busy week in surfing, man. Lots going on, as it should be
Yeah.
during the wintertime.
Yeah, there is a lot going on. I have a who said that. Maybe we can squeeze that in. I don't know. A iconic surf industry person has passed away, sadly. We've got the Survival League, which is back. Of course, the Hui backdoor shootout is making some noise, and some other stuff as well. So, David, where should we start?
I just wanted to hear how Surf Expo was. I haven't talked to you about
Oh
that.
gosh, Surf Expo is incredible. I really dug it. I always enjoy Surf Expo. It's just great to. It's a great way to kind of kick off the year, as we just mentioned, right? You go. Everyone's kind of geared up for the coming year, for a happy new year, a prosperous new year, and I go there and shake hands and kiss babies and see all my old friends that I haven't seen in a little while, and Alan White won the Shapeoff, the East Coast Shapeoff, which is presented by US Blanks. And Alan White, of course, the winner of the East Coast Shapeoff, is automatically gifted an entry into our Boardroom International Surfboard Show Icons of Foam Shapeoff, in which this year we're honoring Eric Arakawa. So in the Arakawa Shapeoff, we already have two of the shapers, Alan White, who's a legendary East Coast shaper, by the way, and a great guy, and last year's defending champion, Michael Arenal. So 2 of the 8 shapers already locked in. Eric will choose the remaining 6. But, I tell you what, the Shape Off at Surf Expo, they had Greg Lohr, who I absolutely adore. He's just a great human being. Um, Tommy Moss was shaping in it. Iconic board builder, can do everything. All these guys really can do it all. Alan White, Chris Birch. There was a bunch of some other guys that I'm missing here, but quite a crew. Oh, Bob Roman, quite a crew of shapers, quite a crew of East Coast legends. I want to say each and every one of those guys is in the East Coast Surfing Hall of Fame. I can't say that with any authority or absolute knowledge of that, but legends in their own right. And yeah, it was good
I
fun.
don't I don't know a lot about Alan White's history, but I did go to his shop one time and I met him. He was in Cocoa Beach.
Yeah.
And it's like a classic surf shop like you would design out of a movie or something. Um, where there's a shaping room or there's a shaping bay in the shop itself. There's a couple dudes just hanging out. Alan's in there shaping. Those 2 guys are just hanging out. I walk in, everybody's happy to see me. They start talking story. Hey, where are you from? What's going on? Oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Like nobody's got anywhere to go or anything. They're just happy to be, you know what I mean? Like they're just
I do.
hanging
I
out. It's
do.
like a clubhouse,
I
basically.
do.
And Alan is shaping, but he's not annoyed that I'm standing there, like trying to make conversation with him. He's happy to see me too, because he's still keeping up or still doing his work. Um, so I did get to hang out with him for quite a bit, and that was a long time ago, but I don't know enough about his history because his name comes up every once in a while and everybody respects him. I know he's a great surfer, but
Yeah, I had the same experience. I kind of did what you did, I believe, which is I toured surf shops around the East Coast, and this was about 11 years ago when I was um, drumming up business, so to speak, for the boardroom show that we did in Orlando in
uh,
2013. And so I had this, oh my God, I had such a great experience. I was chauffeured around town by Dick Messerall, Mez from, of course, East Coast Surfing Magazine and ESM, I should say, Eastern Surf Magazine. And just to hear all the fun stuff Mez was telling me as we drove around, and he kind of guided me around and said, go over here, go over there. And I went through these surf shops, as you mentioned, and they were all these kind of classic, like types of surf shops that straight out of a casting situation, or like if you were designing a surf shop for a movie set, like kind of a hole in the wall, a lot of holes in the walls, very small footprints, a dude at a counter who
yeah.
was probably dirty with shaping stuff, who owned the shop, who shaped the boards. And it was a lot of
Well,
fun. And you're right. It was just I mean, I know it's kind of cliche. And maybe I don't know what it is, but people on the East Coast in the surf industry seem to be nicer.
totally agree. Well, and that is officially the South, which I think is nicer. But you're right. They shape the boards that are in the shop. That's the other detail here that I guess I kind of just glossed over. And the beach is right down the street. So it was like I finished with him. I actually parked, I think, almost on the beach and walked over to the shop, chatted for a bit. And then as I'm walking back to my car, I'm like, I might as well just check the waves. So I just walk over to the little berm. It's like, oh, it's, knee to waist high, but it's rippable and it's warm. All right, sweet. Grab the board, paddle out, catch waves for 30 minutes, get back in the car and go to my next thing. It's perfect. And it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
if you live in that community, Alan White Surfboards is right there and you surf out front. That's whose boards you buy.
Yeah. And a great place, a great place to get old as a surfer, I think, is Florida, because your ego's over like conquering Toto Santos. You just want to get wet every day, surfing warm water, warm and being the key here. And
Totally.
Colby plus wetsuits, by the way, ding, ding, ding. And, and, and the cost of living is good. Like there's a lot of upside to just cruising Florida for the last third of your life.
Well, as it relates to Surf Expo, what was the vibe on the street in terms of optimism about the business or pessimism? Where's everybody at?
Um, I didn't really query people about that. I was kind of more talking to people just about, um, sort of like topics of the day, like, um, what the waves are like for in Hawaii,
Yeah.
Jaws, all the big waves that have happened. Like, I never really was asking about, hey, what's your feeling with the industry? Like I just, after years and years and years of this, it's just like, look, here we go again. Let's
Yeah.
just get this done.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah. It was good. It was good. David, who said that? Are you ready for this? I'm an insomniac. I'm awake all the time. My fears are fucking failure, letting down my family, my wife. I'm scared to be a quadriplegic. I'll tell you that right now. A friend of mine is in a wheelchair now from surfing, and that sometimes pops into my mind at night. I mean, shit, what with the waves we surf, I don't think I could ever handle it. I'm a wild animal, and that would really crush my spirit. Who said that, David? Was it one, Andy Irons, two, Mark Ocalupo, three, Jeff Hackman, or four, Garrett McNamara?
GMAC.
You're wrong, David. I've stumped you.
Dang it.
It was Andy Irons from
Mm,
an interview, I want to say like 2004, 2005, something like that. Yeah.
wow. Yeah. When you said Andy, I immediately was like, heck no, this is definitely not Andy Irons.
Mm.
Surprising.
Yeah. It was I think it was Derek Riley interview. But anyway, a great interview I found on Matt Warshaw's Encyclopedia of Surfing, eos.surf. If you're not a member, if you're not a subscriber, a yearly subscriber, you're blowing it. You
I
should
was
be. It's an incredible website.
Before you offered the multiple choice, I was going to guess Ross Clark Jones.
Ah, that would have been a good one for me to throw in there.
So I was like, if that name pops up, it's 100% Ross Clark Jones. Never would have guessed
Yeah.
Andy. Good one.
Thank you.
Stumped.
Yeah.
Well, big news.
Yes.
Gabriel Medina is out.
Oh my God. I didn't even have that in my notes and I saw it. I forgot about that. You're right. That's huge news. Gabe Medina is out. And the bigger news, or if that's news one, I think news 1A is who's going to replace him. And I think you and I are both on the same page here, right? Who do we
Well,
want?
well, it's not a matter of want,
Oh, it
unfortunately.
is too, David. It's a matter of want. Are you kidding me?
Okay, let's see if we're
Absolutely
on
a
the same
matter of
page.
want. Huh?
Let's see if we are on the same page. Who do you want?
Alan Cleland Jr., for God's sakes. This guy is an absolute CT level surfer, and he shouldn't be forced to grind the crappy waves that the Challenger series would take you to, such as the wave pools. And oh, wait, whoops, wave pools on the CT this year.
I I agree with you. I'm a little less enthusiastic about his addition.
Oh my
Um,
good
I
Lord.
love I love what was that Quicksilver film? Repeater, I think is what it was called last year. Al Cleland blew my mind in that. Huge airs on huge sections, that sort of thing. He's an unbridled, raw kind of energy, which I love to
We need,
watch.
which we
I don't
need.
know that that translates to the tour is my only
Oh,
concern.
come on. It
What
does
I,
too. He's been killing it. I mean, he's competitively savvy. Like he's been
yeah,
grind like he can do competition. He's not like throwing Harry Bryant into a heat or something, or throwing Clay Marzo into a heat and hoping for the best. This guy
I
knows how
agree.
to get through heats.
He won the US Open in 1 foot surf. So you're right there. What I'm saying is, I think sometimes it strips away all of what we love about the person. That's more my concern. In the
Yeah.
era where Andy Irons brought the same type of thing and then won
Yeah.
3 world titles,
Yeah.
I don't see that happening anymore. Instead, what I see is the surfing becoming homogenized on tour. So I hope that Al Cleland can show up and do exactly what he does and then be rewarded for it. And we see a different style of surfing on tour as a result. I just, I don't know. So it remains to be seen. But the reason why Scott brings him up, and first of all, Gabriel Medina tore a pectoral muscle doing an alley oop, strangely enough. Did you watch the video?
No, but a day before he posted the accident, I saw him on Instagram just grinding like squats in the workout room while he was watching himself surfing on a big screen monitor. He was doing squats, and I was just like, "Oh my God, look out for this guy! This guy is focused and ready to go." It was going to be Gabe's year. He was going to beat John at Cloudbreak or vice versa in the final. It was on. I had it all mapped out.
It was pretty funny. I feel like it was intentional just to like shoot. It was like a, you know, I don't know what, like a flex across the rest of the tour. And he was also wearing leggings, by the way. I don't know if you noticed that.
I didn't notice the leggings, but I'm glad you did.
Yeah, exactly. Leggings, no shirt, oiled up, doing squats in front of a video of himself surfing.
Do you like when you see that scene, do you see like five people behind him, like a makeup guy and an oil guy and like a graphic, like and his manager going, okay, now just turn slightly your head to the camera and smile and wink.
Completely. And it's all, the cameras are all being fed to a computer, and there's a guy behind the computer being like, no, no, we need a different angle. Bring in powder. You know what? Change the light a little bit. That's exactly what's happening. But surprisingly, no matter how fit you are, these things still happen. And that actually, surprise is my initial reaction, because I watched the clip and I'm like, doesn't look serious to me. Like it was a very, very mediocre wipeout, or it's a wipeout you would have seen him do 1,000 times and never get hurt. And then we watch the wipeouts that go down at Chopu and Pipe, and they pop right back up and they're paddling right back out, you know? So it's always surprising to me what ends up injuring these guys. Um, you said you did not watch the clip, right?
No,
Okay, so he gets
did not.
barreled. It's like a long left. He gets barreled, come beach break, comes out, goes for an alley oop on the shoulder and lands kind of on a flatter, easy section. But he kind of over rotates, and his arm is still moving faster than his body. He just kind of overextends his arm. So then he lands and collapses, and it kind of puts pressure on it. And apparently that was enough to do damage to the last months. Medina, when he pulled out, he said, quote, something to the effect of, I'll be out for a while. He didn't give an amount of time, and he probably doesn't know. But look, pipe starts in 2 weeks, so he's probably not going to make pipe. If he's out for a number of months, that means he'd be in threat of not making the cut, because the cut is only, who knows, 4 or 5 months away. So ultimately, you mentioned Alan Cleland Jr. The way that the CT, or the way that the rules are from the WSL, if Gabe is out on individual events, it goes to number, I don't know, 24 on the qualifying list, I guess. And that would have been Ian Gentile. If Gabe pulls out for the entire season, then it goes to a different ranked surfer, in which would be Al Cleland Jr. So we're presuming the WSL is talking to Gabe Medina and his doctors and trying to figure all that out now. But if he withdraws for the entire season, then you're right. Al Cleland will be the guy.
Do you think like Ian Gentile's camp and Al Cleland's camp are reaching out to, to Gabe and kind of going, hey, man, like, let's just call it a season ending injury here. You know what I'm saying?
He's definitely having those conversations. I don't know if it's the camp, being like,
No, I'm just
I'll give you a
teasing.
gift card to Amazon if you
Yeah.
pull up.
Yeah.
But they're definitely like, there are things on the line, Gabe. So you
Yeah.
need to kind of think about this, you know?
Yeah.
Real quick, I'll just read the actual quote since I didn't do it justice, but it says, according to the WSL representative, it all comes down to the type of withdrawal. If Gabe pulls out for the entirety, spot would go to number 23. That's what it was on the 2024 CT, which is
And
Samuel.
that's Cleland, right?
That's Samuel Pupo, but Samuel Pupo requalified already via the Challenger Series, so he's on tour. So the additional spot would pass on to the next, which would be Al Cleland. This would make him the full spot on tour. On the other hand, if Gabe decides to go out on an event by event basis, then it goes to number 24 from last year's CT, which is Ian Gentile. So I love Ian Gentile. My only problem with Ian Gentile is we've already seen him on tour.
Well, the other thing that comes into my mind is, you know, I think Alan Cleland's sponsored by Quicksilver. And wouldn't it be interesting? And this isn't the case. I'm just throwing a hypothetical, but if there's a sponsor like Red Bull, like they're both sponsored by Red Bull or something, where it's like the sponsor reaches out to Gabe and goes, hey, look, we can move our guy who's on your team, so to speak, right into the spot if you make this decision, or if your decision is X, this other guy gets it, who's, I don't know if those types of decisions go down, if those phone calls are made, and it's all hypothetical and theoretical at this point.
Well, not to suggest anything about the surf industry doing something like that, but I think that happens in all industries and all
Yeah,
aspects of
for
life.
sure, for sure,
So yes,
for
that
sure.
would be a very likely conversation that would
Yeah.
happen. But
Collusion.
I don't think that they have joint sponsors.
No, I
But
don't
I
either.
am ready for a fresh kind of face on tour, and Al Cleland would be a great edition.
Oh, look, I've turned you. I've already turned. You've been turned. You're on the Al Cleland team now.
I would like a lot of things, Scott. I just don't think that they're necessarily practical.
All right.
So let's see what happens with that. We'll know in the next couple of weeks because the pipe event actually starts on January 27th. So 2 weeks away. I also got a message from Nick Timponi, who you and I surfed in El Salvador with, which that trip is coming up again in April. If anybody wants to join us in El Salvador, email me. But Nick said, "Hey, I wanted to drop you and Scott a note about Spit. You guys were talking about rookies these a couple of episodes ago, and you kind of dismissed most of them. While I agree with the majority of them, do not sleep on Jackson Bunch. He's the real deal. Kid absolutely rips in the air and on the face, in the barrel. Wave awareness is so high for his age. Intuition like Clay Marzo, but never aloof. Already tons of comp experience, and he will send it on bomb sets. I'm predicting Rookie of the Year award and at least one finals appearance. For real, excited to watch him coming his this coming season. LFG Jackson."
All right. Well, that's cool. Is Jackson from Maui? Something tells me Jackson might be from Maui.
He is from Hawaii. I don't know if
Okay.
he's from Maui
Well,
specifically.
Jackson's a great surfer. They all are, and I look forward to see Jackson is a name. Last week when we were looking through it, I was like, we're not really talking about him right now, and we didn't say one thing either way about him. We didn't say yes, we didn't say no. We're kind of both of us were like wait and see.
It's funny. It's so hard to break through my um my kind of filter as a if you are a surfer and I'm sitting here recording podcasts every week, it's so hard for that surfer to break through my 43-year-old filter because certainly cynicism and jadedness from my age, but also with it, we're just fed so much stuff. And when Nick says that, it's like, oh, you're right. It's a name that I've heard dozens of times. It's clips that I've seen dozens of times, and they're all really good. You just have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing to push through all the white noise, you know?
Well, and the reason I'm so pro Alan Cleland Jr. is because of he's the type of surfer. He reminds me of Andy Irons. He's raw. He'll paddle out at jaws and pull into, you know what I mean? Like he'll surf the largest waves imaginable. He's won at 1 foot US Open Huntington Beach crap. Like he's the kind of guy that if the format of professional surfing doesn't push him to the top, then the format is wrong because
Yeah.
we need the quote unquote Andy Ironses of the world to be pushed to the top.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and by the
Any
way, it's not just Alan Cleland. There's other guys like him that I think the format needs to push to the top. He's just the one we're talking about right now.
Well, Anime, I think he finished third at the Vans Pipe Masters a month ago as well.
Yeah, exactly. He's he's the real deal.
Well, according to Nick, Jackson Bunch is right alongside of him.
I bet
We
he
just
is. I bet he
neglected to
is.
see it.
I
Um,
hope he is.
well, that brings us to in preparation for the 2025 season, Survival Surf Ivo League is back, Scott.
Oh my God. It's look, it's your chance to win 7 grand and 3 brand new Panda surfboards.
One of our
Why wouldn't
listeners,
you throw 25 measly dollars, which is like 2 Starbucks coffees, at this thing and roll the dice? And look, it's easy to do. Anyone can win this thing. All you got to do is pick one surfer for each event. I think we have to get through the round of 32. Is that right? In the men's side and the round of
yeah,
16 in the women's side. By the
yeah,
way, they've added women this year too. And the women is $1,000 first prize. And I don't know, is it one Panda surfboard?
yeah.
Okay. So,
So, um, one of our listeners won last year.
well, of course they did. They got such great advice from you and I.
Ed Broomholm got
Ed, hell yeah,
yeah.
Ed. Shout out to Ed.
Yeah. So Ed, I've emailed with Ed over the years. And so when I saw that he was the winner, I was like, what? And he actually emailed me prior to winning, like the prior to the final event, and was like, dude, I'm positioned to take this thing. And I was like, oh my
Ooh,
gosh.
that sounds like a jinx. You don't want to jinx it. You just got to kind of zipper it up and hope for the best.
I know, I know. So yeah, you kind of stated the rules already, but it's only 25 bucks once. It's not 25 bucks per event. So you got to, and that's the thing is you have to sign up before the start of the season, which is why we're telling you
Sign
now.
up now. That's the key to this messaging, right? Sign
Yeah.
up for Survival League today. I'm going to sign up today for Survival League. Sorry, I just
Well,
wanted to make sure people, because that's kind of crucial.
it totally is because we end up talking about it every event and then people are out. They have to wait a year basically to
Yeah.
get in. I meant to sign up yesterday. I didn't, but I did start to fill out my spreadsheet, my
Oh
super
God.
mathematical. I first of all, I run a real sophisticated math analysis, and then I give
Yes.
it to AI and have AI check my work, take all the modern or the newest information, run it against that to determine who will win each of these events. And then I lose in the second event.
No, you did pretty good. Didn't you do good last year? You made it pretty far, I thought.
I don't uh I don't
Yes.
remember. I don't remember.
Yeah, I thought you
I
did pretty well. I know you did better than me. I didn't
I
do
made
so
it
great.
midway through, which is not good enough for me. Anyways, 25 bucks at the beginning of the season, then you pick one surfer per event, and the only goal is to make it past the round of 32. You don't have to win the event, you don't get more points for making a final. You just make it past the round of 32 and that gets you into the next event, which
Yeah,
you want to do the same thing in. So super fun, easy, takes all the BS out. Survival is just like it sounds. Surf and then IVAL-league.com. We'll link to it. If they ask you where you heard about it, tell them spit.
absolutely. Spit. Tell them you heard it from David and Scott.
So my question to you though is, Scott, who
Yeah.
will be your survival pick for pipe?
I mean, I'll probably pick there's like four that you want to pick. It'll be John or Jack Robinson. Um, those are the maybe Baron, Amia.
So funny. Are you reading my list?
No,
If I
maybe
shared
Seth
my,
Moniz. I think I lost one year when I picked Seth.
well, he came off of a finals finish, so you picked him the next year and then he lost.
Ah,
Um, but so you literally, if I was sharing my screen with you, you could read my spreadsheet. Those are my top three. It was because what I do is I have three columns, and it's like this is my number one pick. This is who I think is going to win the event. Here's who I think could final, and here's a third pick, and then I have an underdog pick as well. And the reason I do that is once I lay it all out across the season, I could see, oh, you know what? I've picked John three times in the first position. Which one do I actually want him in? But in that second event where I picked John and I'm not going to be able to use him, who was my second pick? Well, it turns out Felipe was my second pick, so I can sub him in, but he was my first pick over here. So I kind of run a calculus that way and shovel people around after I lay out the whole season rather than going event by event. But I'm picking wild or undercards or underdogs this season. And I want to throw those out to you because I think that might be a valuable thing. Every season, there's somebody who shows up that you're like, I did not expect Liam O'Brien to do what Liam O'Brien was going to do last year. So put that guy in your underdog spot, keep your eye on him, and just realize like everybody's going to pick John, but there's been times like where everybody picks Seth and you lose half the league. I think it was Griffin Colapinto maybe at El
yeah,
Salvador last year. Half the league is gone. And
yeah.
so somebody like Liam O'Brien, he's kind of constantly making it past the round of 32. He's never making finals, but he's making it past the round of 32 every single time. And so consider that guy to sub him in. Somebody like Samuel Pupos, somebody that could do that. Cole Hauschman is somebody who could do that. So keep those guys on your back burner.
Dude, it's hard once it gets down the line here in the season. It's hard to pick Cole Hauschman to get past. I don't know. The big question is Abu Dhabi. Like Pipe's easy to pick. Abu Dhabi is a bit of a wild card, but now actually, as I think about it here on the spot, I'm going to pick Idolo. I'm going to pick somebody that's surfed the wave, that's been there already, that's been comfortable with the scenario, knows the people. Idolo was ripping there recently. I think I'm going to go Idolo, and that's assuming I get through the first event, of course.
Eat easy picks for a wave pool. Italo,
Yeah,
Felipe, Griffin
yeah.
Colapinto. No question.
Boom. Done. Well, you know what? That brings us to a couple of things. One, I think we should take a little bit of a turn here and say that sadly, Alan Green has passed away. If you don't know who Alan
No.
Green, low profile co-founder of Quicksilver. He died yesterday at the age of 77. Of course, Quicksilver, the world's leading surfwear company, from Torquay, Victoria. Um, in 1960, in 1969, along with his partner John Law, I'm reading, by the way, from some stuff I wrote. He founded a small wetsuit making operation in the coastal town of Torquay, known as Rip Curl. Surfing's biggest, richest, and most successful company, however, Quicksilver, maker of surfwear, wetsuits, and all manner of surfing accessories, was founded by Alan and John. And that Quicksilver name was lifted from the acid rock band Quicksilver Messenger Service. And Alan Green designed and drew the famous Quicksilver logo himself. Alan Green and Law began making these surfing trunks under the Quicksilver label in 1973. 3 years later, their scalloped leg board shorts with Velcro fly and two-button snaps became a hot-selling item in the Americas. And by the middle of the following decade, the company was among the biggest in the surf industry. Alan Green proved to be a masterful behind-the-scenes administrator with a special talent for hiring people, and this is crucial, who are both surf and business savvy, like Australians Bruce Raymond and Harry Hodge. Jeff Hackman comes to mind, who brought on Bob McKnight. In 1986, Quicksilver USA became the first publicly traded surfing company. And Quicksilver International sales in 2001 totaled more than $1 billion, a surf world first. Alan Green had a love for horse racing, partnering with 3 Melbourne Cup race winners, and enjoyed the life of skiing, surfing, and most of all his family. Tip of the cap, Alan Green, a full grommet at heart, a life well lived. Rest in peace.
Phenomenal recap, dude. Lots of information there that I did not know.
Yeah.
Really great recap.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I gleaned that from various sources. I don't want to take credit here. This is about Alan and a life well lived.
Only one person can copy and paste like you, or nobody else can copy and paste like you, Scott. It's a real talent.
I'm known for that and the way I dress.
Well, I guess along that same note, Mike Hynson sadly passed away this past week as well.
Absolutely.
And, you referenced him in the show note or in the opening, I believe, but you had to have known Hynson. I'd always see him at the boardroom show.
Oh yeah. I've known Mike for a long time, decades, and quite a character, vibrant, a real truth teller, a guy who did not have just to talk about an alpha male, a guy who walked into a room and owned the space, and just a character. Like, surfing is so fascinating, our subculture, and I think probably all subcultures are like this, but for sure surfing's got some characters in it, and it's sort of like the wicked web that we weave with all of these characters that make the surf culture so vibrant and fascinating. And I think of Hynson, and I think of like the Dale Velsies of the world, just these extraordinary characters, and Hynson was one of these. And there's been a lot written about Mike, and there's a lot on the Instagram and a lot out there. So I'm not going to rehash a whole bunch of it, other than to say that he was, from a surfboard standpoint, he has been recognized as the guy who crafted the down railer to perfection. Jerry Lopez gives Hynson all the credit in the world for creating that down rail and allowing Jerry to set his rail and keep his rail set inside the hollow tubes of pipeline. And that down railer board, man, talk about a fast surfboard. Boy, oh boy. And interestingly, those down rails were fast, but they were hard to turn. Most people couldn't figure out how to turn them. I spoke with Hank Warner at Bird Surf Shed a number of years ago, and we brought down one of Hynson's down railers, and he goes, "This is the secret to how Mike could turn them. Mike could do cutbacks." And it was because of the tail rocker that Mike subtly put in these boards that allowed the board to turn, even with that fast down rail. And so, yeah, Hynson, from a surfboard standpoint, super important. From a cultural standpoint, of course, Endless Summer, the guy who pointed to and found Bruce's beauties and told those guys, "Hey, we got to march up here and surf this wave. I'm going. Follow me if you'd like." And of course, those guys followed and Bruce set up his camera, and history was made by probably, when you think about surf culture and sort of data points of importance, Endless Summer, if you had to pick, I don't know, 10 data points, Endless Summer is one of those 10 data points. And actually, what those 10 data points are would be great for another show. But I think Endless Summer is on there as a data point in surf culture and surf history, and why we're at where we're at right now. Could be because of Bruce Brown, Robert August, and Mike Hynson in that incredible movie.
If you distilled it down even further, it would be an image of Henson and his soul arch on that perfectly groomed wave, in
Yeah.
trim. And so that's what's more interesting, or that's what's also interesting to me is like, where would we be as a culture without those things? And the reality is the reason why that image is so enduring is style. And it sums up surfing is about style. Where would we be without it? Or where would we be if instead there was a film made and it was terrible style? Would surfing even have developed to the way that it is now? No, but that was the benchmark that everybody's aiming towards ever since that movie came out.
Yeah, boy, what you just said there, there's so much that could be unpacked regarding. My mind immediately went to, what if we started out with 5'6" surfboards? The first boards were 5'6", because a lot of our style, what we know as style, came from a long railed surfboard where, you buried this long rail, and the board itself sort of dictated what we looked like on it when we rode that board. And I mean, gosh, there's a lot. There's a movie to be made there, probably.
Totally. Um,
Interstellar.
did you watch Interstellar recently? It
Yeah,
just
I
got
did.
added to
I did.
Netflix.
I did.
I
Have you
I
seen it?
freaking watched it this weekend. How good is it?
Oh my God, it's such a good movie. I'm still freaking out on it. All the themes that are in it, the themes of love and God and the universe and relativity and time, and are we alone? Like, there's so much to unpack. I mean, it's kind of a corny theme, like the outline of the story itself's a little bit out there, but maybe not. But either way, what's underneath it, the themes that weave through it, are just fascinating.
How much smarter are other people? Like Christopher Nolan for writing that film. It's unbelievably well conceived, thoroughly like excavated, and then the, cinematography and the shooting of it's all just like it is a masterpiece.
It's incredible. And if you're a father with a daughter, it's a
Oof.
must-watch movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just blown away. I think whenever I originally saw it, I knew it was great. I was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, this is amazing. But it just hits different now. Like it is one of the greatest films of all
I
time.
agree.
It's
I had never
crazy.
seen it before. I watched it on the flight to Orlando for the Surf Expo, and I was
Yeah.
just like, I came home. I immediately got off the plane and called my daughter, and I was like, honey, I love you. It was
Honey,
funny.
look up at the North Star right now. We can both stare at it.
What a great movie. Interstellar. Mike Hynson. Speaking of, what a great thing, because Mike was ethereal. Mike and I had discussions on Rainbow Bridge and psychedelics and spirituality, and we always connected on this level that was much more, much deeper than, surfing. And and it's because we had a, I won't get into it, but we had a friend. We shared friendships with a guy who was really into all of that stuff. And Mike was a deep, deep thinker, and a super smart, intelligent guy.
Well, did he ever share with you the secret of how he kept his hair so perfectly slicked back in all positions while surfing?
No, and that's a secret that none of us will ever know. It's one that needs to be, some secrets remain.
Some people pull that off. I've never been able to. I will always dip my hair, like when I'm sitting waiting for a wave, I'll always dip my hair back so it is slicked back and out of my eyes. But by the time I'm up and riding, it's all everywhere and in my face. But there's some guys like him where it's like not a thing out of place at any moment. And that is
Yeah.
style officially.
Yes. Good point.
Yeah. Well, the Hui Backdoor Shootout wrapped up yesterday. There was kind of an extended number of lay days in the waiting period. We talked about day one and day two, I believe, last week we were on the show, and then finally wrapped up just yesterday. Congratulations goes to Team Japan, which I did not see coming, but they won as the team.
Wow.
And then Koa Rothman is the individual surfer who won the event.
Well, that's great. I watched some of it. I got to admit, I tuned in, and what's equally good about that event is the Hawaiian history that you either learn or you re-acknowledge, um, while they're doing the broadcast. Those commentators in the booth do such a good job of telling you about kind of what happened with the history of Hawaii relative to a lot of things, but for sure the annexation of the Hawaiian Islands. And I I'm here for history. I'm here for the history, and I stay for the tube rides.
Totally. Well put. Totally agree with you. I had that in my notes as well of something that I really enjoyed. I mean, at one point they break into, we're here, the Hui Backdoor Shootout honors Duke Kahanamoku. Let me tell you a bit about Duke Kahanamoku. And then they go into that. And the reality is there's a lot of downtime in a surf contest. And so why not? It's a perfect
Exactly.
opportunity. And the Duke stuff, you would think you know everything about Duke. I read the book, I saw the film, I watched the documentary, but I don't know if I just forget it or if there's just that much more information that's still out there. But it was all very, very interesting to me, just like with your Quicksilver recap, Alan Green recap.
I mean, it
There's
makes
things
you
I don't
think
know.
the WSL broadcasters could certainly, like, let's say they go to Western Australia this year, or they go to Abu Dhabi. I don't know shit about Abu Dhabi. They should
Right.
have bullet points about the history of Abu Dhabi, by the way, is that in Qatar? Like, where is Abu Dhabi? It's in Emirates, right? United Arab Emirates.
Abu Dhabi is a country in the United Arab Emirates, as far as I know.
Wait a minute. I think it's a
Is that
city
wrong? It's a
in,
city.
I think it's a city in United Arab. But my point is, we don't know. So we should
How
know.
do
They should, it's their duty to tell us what the hell's going on there because none of us know. And I'm sure there's some intense history there that they've got hours and hours of broadcast time to fill. And the key is having somebody dispel that information to us that's an expert that has an authentic voice. You can't really, I mean, I guess you could put bullet points in there and have Joe Turpel tell us about it, but it'd probably be better to have somebody of some sort of, academic insight tell us what's going on.
Yeah, and you're right. It's the capital city of United Arab Emirates. So there you
What
go.
did you say it was? A country within the
I,
United?
I don't know, a state, a county. I'm not sure what's going on over
I
there.
don't know. I don't know either. Is it a monarchy? What's going on? Who owns it? What's going on there? What's their GDP? Like, I want some historical data.
I think the difference, though, Joe Turpel cannot deliver the same amount of or the same
Right.
information because he's not from there. The reason why
Yeah.
the Dahui guys are so great is they were born and raised there, and then they had their education system gave them all that. They've just lived in it for so long.
Well, you and I have received emails from surfers that live in Abu Dhabi that have said, "Hey, it's not as bad as you think. It's actually kind of cool." Blah blah blah. And those guys, there are expat surfers that live there that have some pretty good insight into the nation state or the city in this case of Abu Dhabi that can give us some insight. Like, aren't they building some crazy like modern city? There's a lot we could learn basically. Like, teach us. You know what I mean? Like, we know
To-
these guys are going to do aerials on this wave. Give us some insight in between.
I mean, it really is a dystopia. I don't want to say dystopian, but it's a different world. It is fantastical. When you hear about Ferrari City or you see some of the buildings that people have designed and built there, it looks like it's out of a futuristic movie and out of somebody's imagination, and it's reality.
Yeah. We want some insight. I don't want to just hear about the wave pool. I want to learn about Abu Dhabi. This is your challenge. Meet the challenge. Don't you think that would be good? I mean, they got all this time to fill. Give us some, and it can't be overly. I understand that they've got to, acquiesce a little bit to the Chamber of Commerce there and to the powers that be, because God forbid if you say the wrong thing, you might, who knows, it could be bad. But don't give us like the watered down version. I want to know the Dan Carlin version.
You want to know what's funny, or the biggest hurdle that they are going to have is they're going to do all this research because you're right, there's 5 minutes in between waves. So
Yeah.
we got a lot of time to fill. Here's a giant script. It's basically a textbook. The challenge for them is you and I
Telling the
aren't going to be
truth.
watching, no, you and I aren't going to be watching the event.
Oh,
So
that's true
the
too.
information isn't going to land with anybody. They're going to do all the work, deliver it all, and you and I are going to be like, no, we didn't watch that event. Why would we?
Oh man. Well, let's like other places, Western Australia. There's some great history there. Like we want to hear about Ned. You know, is it Ned Kelly?
Ned Kelly, that's right. Yeah. Um, as I was doing my survival spreadsheet yesterday and looking at the stops, I basically copied and pasted my old spreadsheet or duplicated it. So I had to go in and change each entry. And I realized this tour is actually more exciting than last year. Abu Dhabi aside, just kind of the sequence, it goes Pipe, Abu Dhabi, Portugal, El Salvador, Bells, Snapper, Margaret, Trestles, Rio, J-Bay, Tahiti. It's a little bit more exciting for me than last year was.
All right. Well, that's
And
good
it's
to
out of
know.
sequence. It's a different sequence of events too.
Look, I'm a sucker for the WSL for professional surf contests. Like, I'm excited. You know, like I'm sitting here, I'm waving my flag, I'm ready to go, and if there's good waves, it's going to be great.
And now you're excited for Abu Dhabi as well.
Maybe.
um, I've
What
got
else
a
do you got?
well, I've got a
You know what? This would
Duke.
be a good time for a quick break.
Okay, go for it.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Speaking of great content, right?
Yes.
I want to share with you a book that we read in our book club that's incredible.
Okay.
I need you to read this book. It's a great, it's one of the funnest books I've ever read.
Hmm.
It's called The Knicks. The Knicks.
I like
And
it. I
if
like the
you're a
art.
reader, you need to read this book. It's wonderful. It's about an author who his mom has left him when he's a child. He grows up and finds her and interviews her. And obviously, there's a hell of a lot more to it than that.
And it's nonfiction.
No, it's fiction.
Oh, it is fiction.
It's fiction.
Nathan Hall looks like the writer.
Hill, Hill.
Got it. Nathan Hill,
Yeah.
the Knicks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a really good book.
I like the cover art. Looks cool.
Yeah.
We should also remind people real quickly, Chicama and El Salvador. We're going to El Salvador in April if you want to join us, and then Chicama in August if you want to join us there. We're taking over the entire resort in both instances. El Salvador is almost sold out. I haven't checked with them on the numbers in the last week, and it was almost sold out last week. So if you want to come, there's probably maybe a spot or two. And then Chicama, there's definitely spots. We're doing 7 nights in Peru. We've got that resort perched right on the hill, and it's
Oh,
going to be incredible.
by the way, at Surf Expo, I ran into a couple that are from Peru, Peruvian surfboard makers, and they're all about Chicama, and they got me convinced. Just bring the foil. You're gonna be stoked. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I talked to my buddy Wade Largent, who's a sander for the Stars, basically in San Diego, and
Yeah.
he spends a lot of time in Peru, and he's been going for years, like once a year for years, and he got me super duper hyped. And I was like, "What about it being soft at Chicama?" And he goes, "Dude." He's like, it's super fun. He's like, yeah, you're not going to get barreled. If you want to get barreled, you can go somewhere and get barreled, but it is super fun. He's like, I've had some of the most fun rides in my life there. Just like, as long as you can imagine, just going as fast as you can go, just like high lining over and over. And you're just like, oh my God, I'm going to eventually I'll get to a section, I can do a turn, and it just keeps going and going and going. And he's like, and if it's head high, it's plenty of energy to still do tons of stuff on.
Yeah.
So he convinced me, and he's like, there's a bunch of different points,
Exactly.
there is a shortboard version of it, just you got to walk further up the point to get to that part. And so
Yeah.
I was, not that I wasn't hyped on it, but he got me even more
Yeah.
amped.
Yeah. I got pretty amped. I had a nice discussion with these people. It was good.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
message us. I'm surfsplendor@gmail.com. If you want to book a private single room, it's only $2,000 for the week, or less than 2 grand for the week, actually. And that covers 3 meals a day plus 7 nights, plus the airport transfers, all that kind of stuff. And then if you want to book with 3 people, it comes down to as low as 1,400 for the week. So $200 a day for the room and board, which is pretty incredible. So join us.
I have a must-see moment
Me too.
presented by TREESWAX, of course. And this week, David, I have 2 for the price of 1 because I've been getting caught up in YouTube. And I want to mention Nathan Florence's recent YouTube where Nathan and Ivan and John and others, I think Eli Olson, some other guys, looks like Makana Pang maybe, they surf this radical sandbar that's just down Eokai from Pipe. And it's just mean and gurgly and incredible. And that's a lot of fun to watch.
Mm.
In addition to that, right next to it on my algorithm was Jamie O'Brien's recent YouTube channel upload content piece on the Hui backdoor shootout. And so those 2 things you can whip through and good stuff. Jamie O'Brien and Nathan Florence, both their recent YouTube channel posts are really good. Presented by TREESWAX.
Yeah, thank you, TREESWAX. Petroleum-free, high-performance surf wax, which I'm using. TREESWAX.com. I didn't see either of those videos, but Jamie O'Brien, it was like I was watching the Hui backdoor shootout yesterday, and I forget what team was out. By the way, the team surfs together. How do you feel about that? There's no opponents in the water. It's only your team.
How I feel is that the Hui backdoor shootouts kind of doesn't need to change. Like it just, okay, maybe it's not the most competitive arena. I just think what they do is unique and it should stay the same, regardless
Agreed.
of how I feel.
Good call. I initially liked the concept. I'm like, yeah, that seems cool. Like it's not cutthroat. You're just out there surfing. It's more like a free surf, and whoever wins at the end of the day is, the best surfer. But when I'm watching it in real time, it is missing the competition element. But when whatever team I was watching, it was mediocre scores. They left the water. As soon as Jamie O'Brien paddles out in the next heat, bomb shows up. He side slips down the face. Like the way that he's taking off, I'm like, oh no, he's going to eat shit. And then he side slips down, gets shacked, blown out in the channel, runs over the photographers. It's like, he's so good.
And I actually think because I was thinking about this too during that heat. I watched that heat too. And I was thinking, Jamie probably wishes that he had competitors in his heat. Like it's easier for him to score good waves in his heat if it's him versus whoever. But when it's his bros, the North Shore boys, when it's, those guys, and he's kind of got to go, okay, yeah, you go. When internally, he might be going, if this was just some guy from friggin' Peru, like from wherever, I could be scoring in this heat. You know what I mean? Because he's got the place so down, so wired. Because I was going, what's going on in Jamie's mind right now? He's like a set's coming, and normally he would be going, but he's got to yield to his teammates.
Yeah. It's really impressive to see him do what he does in the water. Really, there is a separation. There's him and a handful of other people who are kind of that tuned in and that talented to really just play with it. It's incredible to watch. Anyways, my must-see moment, I was going to suggest everybody go back and just watch Endless Summer 1, or at least watch Mike Hynson's Bruce's Beauties section. We've all seen it, but for some of us, it's probably been decades since we've seen it, and it warrants a thorough, sit down and absorb yourself into it. And now would be a great time to do that. So that is my suggestion as a must-see moment.
Very good. I apologize. I do have a hard out here.
Well, let me real quickly give you my Duke. Congrats to Stab for pulling this out. Kevin Schulz, Orange County surfer who we've watched over the years, Goofy Foot Ripper. Kevin Schulz is actually a firefighter, and he went up and fought those fires in Los Angeles. And so Stab Magazine got an interview with him. I'll just read you one paragraph real quickly. But Duke of the Week, Kevin Schulz, he said, when we got called up from Orange County to put out the fires, we all did 48 to 50 hours straight. It's what's called an initial attack. After the initial burst, we start doing shifts with other crews. So right now it's 24 hours on, 24 hours off, which is why I'm able to talk at this moment. Amid all the chaos and devastation, it's been amazing to see the community support each other And they've taken such good care of us, the firefighters. No matter what you might hear on social media or TV, the vast majority of people have been nothing but selfless and heroic here in Los Angeles. I haven't personally seen any looters, but we know that is happening, as well as some arsonists. I haven't seen it myself, but that's super tragic. So,
Yeah.
Kevin Schulz.
Good for him, man. Stoked that he's, fighting the hard fight. For the listeners, there's so much fire content out there that I think David and we're just not talking about it because you can get your fire news other places. But as it relates to surfing, this is a great story about Kevin. Of course, I learned through the LA Times that Gidget lost her house. Kathy Corner, the original Gidget in Palisades. I know Jim Ganser, Jimmy Z, lost his house. And I'm sure there's a lot of other surfers, and our thoughts and prayers, and they go out to those and frankly, all the people in Los Angeles who are suffering right now.
Horrific. I have cousins who grew up in the Palisades, and yeah, that is all vanquished at this point. So sad, but thoughts and prayers.
Yeah. Yeah. Thoughts and prayers. Look, David, great show. Until next time, adios and aloha.